All right. So we're recording. Welcome to the Make Guitar podcast. It's June 27th as we're recording this. And yeah, today I think we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the sound of the films of Dino De Laurentiis, particularly Flash Gordon from 1980. Um,
Nice. Hey, weren't we gonna restate the make guitar like our reason for being?
oh, yeah, we have a new one.
Yeah,
Um, what was that? It was something about the
it had something to do with
commitment
excellence.
to commitment to
Yeah.
sonic excellence or something.
Yes, yeah, commitment to sonic
I
excellence,
don't know.
right?
Yeah, I've already forgotten what it is.
It was really important. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
should have written it down.
what else? Yeah, so before we get into the movie, so I saw this, I sent you a YouTube link to a video of Jay or is it Mascis playing a what looked like a Vox Phantom, like the body, but it had the neck of like a Fender Tele and a Jazzmaster tremolo. And I was like, where did this guitar come from? It's so weird.
Yeah, my guess is that it came from like a parts bucket and he just, put it together. Um, because I mean, yeah, you could totally custom make a guitar like that, but um, why would you do that? I mean, it's cool, but it's kind of cooler that it's just like, made from random parts.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, did he get, is that like a real Vox body or did he just buy a Vox? Is someone making like a Vox shape? Because you got like some you know, like get bodies off eBay that were, like Firebird or whatever shape.
Hmm. Yeah, my
But
guess is it's an original Vox body and it's an original Fender Telecaster neck and a original Jazzmaster tremolo, and he just like smashed them all together,
you'd have to route
or
the
somebody else did it.
tremolo, right? You'd
Yeah,
have to route that out.
yeah. There's no restoring that Phantom back to original condition after you cut a
Yeah,
big square hole in the
I
body.
can't remember if the pickups were like, if they were Fender or if they were like the Vox pickups. It kind of looks like a Stratocaster or like a Jazzmaster pickup. I don't know. I can't tell. It's too small.
Yeah, I thought they were like three single coils, which is, it's not a very J Mascis look or layout because he's such a jazz master guy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyways, I I thought maybe they were. I might be misremembering. I was thinking they were like lipstick pickups, or they had some kind of chrome covers on them.
No, I think they look like Strat pickups to me.
Okay.
Like now that I think about it. Actually, I like Dinosaur Jr. and I like Jay Mascis, but I realized after watching that video why I don't enjoy them as much. And I remember seeing an interview with him and he kind of said, he said, yeah, when Dinosaur was beginning, we just wanted to be the loudest country band ever, you know? And then I realized, yeah, he's kind of right. Like they're kind of this loud, distorted country, the style of the music. And I think that's like why I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. Like I think in the past, like the earlier records were more rock oriented. And so like the music was kind of, more in my zone. And now he's kind of drifted. But I still enjoy their guitar playing. I like
Yeah.
the bass player. What's his name? Like they're I think Murph is the drummer, and then God, I can't remember the bass player's name, like Barrow or Barrow or something. But he's
Yeah.
playing in the video. He's playing the Ripper. He's got the.
I know. I know. I
It's
like
cool.
that
Yeah,
that bass. Was it a Ripper or was it a what's the other one? The Grabber,
the
because
grab.
it had the pointy headstock.
Oh, it
The
did. Yeah,
Grabber,
you're right.
yeah. The Ripper had a I think it had a set neck and it had a like a Gibson like Les Paul shaped headstock.
I think you're right, because I think that I can't remember, but I think it looked like a bolt-on, like the neck looked like a bolt-on,
Yeah,
But
and it
anyway,
had
his
the
bass is super
flying
cool.
V.
Yeah, it has the V headstock, which I really
Yeah,
dig. Like that, it was super cool. So anyway,
yeah, those are cool bases. I really wish I didn't get rid of my Ripper.
yeah, if anybody's
That was a great
wondering,
base.
you should look up that video and take a look at it because it was pretty cool.
Yeah, what song was it? That would
I don't
help.
know. It was some new. I think it was like a new song. I didn't recognize it.
Okay, well we'll put the link to it in the description. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, you should enjoy some J Mascis.
yeah, right on. Hey, so what else? Let's talk about one other topic before we get started in the main topic, right? So, I bought this. I'll go get it. Right, it's nothing special, right? Oh, sorry, I had the amp on, right? But I bought this DS1.
Ah,
So, this is like the Boss pedal, right? Classic distortion pedal. And I think I got this used for like 45 bucks. And so I started looking at Boss pedals online and I was checking the prices, right? Because I'm like, I want to get it as cheap as possible because what I have this goal where I want to take the DS1 out of here and put a Big Muff in this case, right? So that's kind of my goal. And it's got 3 knobs. It'll be perfect, right? They're even labeled correctly, right? Almost, right?
yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
great. Does that work?
well, I haven't done it yet. This works, yeah. So it works. It's a
Okay.
DS1. I actually modded the DS1 already. I read about some mods and I tried one of the mods out, and it sounds okay actually. So, there's nothing wrong with this pedal. It sounds all right. The distortion sound doesn't floor me or anything. I'm not like, wow, that's super cool, but it sounds all right. But I like this case, the Boss enclosure. And you can't get these, like you can't just buy a Boss enclosure. So I thought I'd just get a used one and put a new circuit inside it. But the thing is, like, that means that if I paid like about 45 bucks for this, which was the cheapest one I could get. So that's like, wow, for the cost of making a pedal, that just sent the cost through the roof because usually it costs about 25 bucks for parts, like 25 to 35, and I just paid 45 for this and no parts, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
right. So so anyway, I started looking at the prices and like Boss pedals are like they keep their value, right? Like people sell them for high, but I after looking at it, I realized like you could buy a new one of these on Sweetwater for about 53 bucks. So if you think about it like a used pedal, like you'd think anything used should be like, 50 to 75% of the new price,
Right.
right? Depending on the quality, and then maybe like some used things cost more because you can't get them anymore. But there's tons of these. It's not like this is rare, right? They didn't really, the circuit changed like only in the parts they used. The circuit stayed the same. And the way the circuit works, I don't think that any of the changes they made a lot of sonic quality, though I'm sure there's some people that say they can hear a difference. Maybe they can't, I don't know, but I kind of doubt that it's anything that a majority of people would be able to identify, right?
Right.
So, if you're a collector and you really want the one with the little silver screw, then you could pay top dollar for that. But otherwise, like if these are 53 bucks new, I feel like you should be able to get them for like 25 to 35 bucks.
Sure, but I think it's kind of that pedal is like the Honda Civic of pedals. Like it works really well. It's reliable. Um, it's not like a perform. I mean, people make modifications to it to make it more, compelling or whatever. But it's not like a exciting boutique distortion or overdrive or fuzz or anything like that. It's just a basic distortion.
Yeah, not at all. Though it sounds okay even on bass. I put the bass through
Okay.
it and it's actually sounded okay on bass. Sounded okay on guitar. I mean, yeah, like I said, I wasn't like wowed by the sound.
Mhm.
But I mean, maybe some people really like it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, so like I was surprised at the cost of these. And then I saw a lot of people on Reverb selling them. Like I saw a broken one. Like there was a broken one. It was like, this doesn't work. Like I tried to mod it and it doesn't work. And they'd even drilled a hole in it. They were going to add a switch or another LED or something. That's like a mod that people do. So
Hmm.
they drilled a hole in the case. The thing didn't work. And then they wanted like $30 plus $15 shipping, which is like 45 bucks. Right. And when I mail a pedal, like I mailed a pedal on Friday and it cost me $6, right? So I feel these are a little heavier than the MXR ones. So, you know, last year when I mailed, or this year actually, when I was mailing pedals, like I don't think for like a pedal this size, like I paid more than $7 shipping for first class USPS, right? And even
Hmm.
for larger pedals, I paid maybe like 12 bucks at the most, you know, maybe 17 if I put two pedals in the same box,
Wow. Okay.
right?
I really,
So people
that's a
are
lot.
like unrealistic. I I feel like that I feel like on Reverb, like I mean, because Reverb takes a cut too, so they're like, you know, that cuts into your profits. But I feel like either there's one of two things happening, right? Okay, people are unrealistic and they're not moving their products, right? Because they're asking too much money,
Hmm.
right? Or right underneath it all, their significant other has asked them to sell some of their gear and they don't really want to sell it. So they're pricing it high enough so no one's going to buy it. And then they're like, sorry, honey, it didn't sell. You know, like
That's an interesting theory. Have you done that?
me, never. Yeah, right. So anyway, but you know, it was like an interesting look at the cost of Boss pedals. And the funny thing that I noticed is like these, like the DS1 and the SD1 were pretty cheap, like the yellow one, right? Like the super distortion and the distortion, right? Were like 50 bucks, you know, right? You could get these for $50. But then the pedals jumped to like 100 bucks, but you're kind of getting the same pedal. Like if you want a blues driver, it's like 100 bucks. But it's like three knobs, it's just blue. Like it's this, like in the circuit is very similar. So it's not like it needs like a lot of extra parts.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then if you want a Wazacraft, right, the like the boutique Boss version, it's like 150 to 160 bucks, right? You know, or more even, depends on the pedal. You know, and I was actually surprised, like the Wazacraft Blues Driver was like 160 something, but the Wazacraft D3 or D2, right, the delay was less. It was like 150. So it was like 10
Hmm.
bucks less for the delay. I would think the delay would cost more because, you know, hard to get parts, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the cost is affected mostly by desirability. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, you said that that distortion is it's just okay, and I don't think anybody wants to pay, 50 bucks for okay.
yeah,
You can buy like Behringer pedals or I don't even remember. There's another brand that Guitar Center often puts on sale for like 25 bucks per pedal if you get like three or something like that, and they're really lackluster. I don't remember which ones they are right now, but yeah, you don't want to spend money and get okay, because what use is okay
yeah, good point, you know?
in the pursuit of sonic excellence? um you know just spend that 50 bucks on parts and make your own, like
Oh yeah, for 50
tube
bucks you could make
screamer or
like a
something.
dynamite pedal. Like
Yeah.
you could make one of those life pedals for 50 bucks. You know, I think those cost me about 65 to make,
Okay.
you know, because they have a few parts and you got to buy a bigger enclosure and three switches. And so I think they're about 65, but like that pedal sounds great. Like I would recommend that. And it's got a lot of sonic territory it covers. Like it's got the distortion, it's got the octave switch, so you can switch the octave on and off, and then it has the boost. So the distortion sounds pretty good. It sounds better than this, I think. And then it's got the octave too. So you're like, oh, I want the octave distortion. I can turn that on. and then it has the booster too. So you have, I don't know, it's just kind of like its own. You just like it depend. You could play like your Doom gig just with that pedal.
Right.
So for
Yeah.
$65, if you're willing to make it, I think that's the deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the the um the flip side is that is a lot of people don't want to build a pedal. They just don't have any confidence in their soldering ability. Um, they're afraid they're going to electrocute themselves or burn themselves or whatever. But um,
Yeah,
yeah,
good
50
point.
bucks for okay is just, I don't know, that doesn't seem like a deal.
Yeah, yeah. I know, right? You know, especially when, and that maybe that's what all those people that paid $50 for okay are like having buyer's remorse and they're like, man, I got to get my $50 back. So they're trying to sell it on Reverb for more than they should be doing.
Yeah, maybe that guy with the broken one, he broke it trying to make it into a good pedal, trying to mod it into a decent sounding distortion, and then he wanted to get his money back.
Yeah. I even saw one of these on the gear page. They have a trade page, right? And I saw one of these for $110. And I was like, wait, you could buy a new one for $53 and you're selling a used one. And then it was all beat up, like the knobs were broken and stuff. It was pretty beat.
Hmm.
You know?
Who was
So,
selling it?
I don't know, just
It
somebody on
wasn't like
the
I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody. Trogley was doing one of his like his eBay watches or Reverb watch episodes, and there was some celebrity who was an actor, I think, who was selling a guitar. And he's like, I don't know if like having this actor, you know, having this ad attached to this actor is like a bonus. Like, who cares if like John Leguizamo or whatever? It wasn't him, but if like this guy owned this guitar, he's not a guitarist.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's not a professional musician.
Oh my God, it was owned by Jennifer Aniston. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it. It wouldn't sell me. Yeah.
Oh, but some people would if it were Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, maybe. I guess she's kind of pretty famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got like like I said, I want to put a like a big muff into this, right? I might actually buy another one, and then just keep one of these, right? So it's stock, but my problem now is the Boss pedals have a buffered bypass and then they have like a electronic switching, right? And so I can't really use that because it's part of the original circuit board. It'd be very hard to make it work with that.
Hmm.
So inside, I don't know if you can see this, but inside here, this little black thing, like right here where my finger is, you see that?
Yep, that's Switch.
Yeah, that's the switch, right? It's like a little switch in it. And what happens is the lid here presses down on it, right? And then the switch is just like just a single contact. And then that triggers the electronic switching, right? So I have two choices to get this to work, right? Is either I set up an electronic switching, which I'll have to make myself, right? And there's I've seen some schematics. I'm kind of looking some stuff up. Um, and actually, I posted a couple questions to the DIY Stompbox forum, and a guy on the Stompbox forum was like, "Hey, I have some circuit boards for an electronic switching thing. I can send you a couple," which was like super. That forum is so nice. Like the people are really cool over there. So maybe I'll get one of those boards and try that out, right? The other thing that I saw people doing was taking like a switch like this or something similar and actually putting it in here. So like imagine this is inside here with this thing sticking up right about where this switch is. So the
Sure.
lid is actually pushing down on the top of this inside the box here, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Right? But you have to like, and the hole here is just about the right size. So you need a couple washers, right? And then you got to sandwich it and then set the height here just perfect. And then make sure that the nuts are tight enough so it doesn't move.
Hmm.
So
That's interesting because everyone probably who watches this channel knows what a Boss pedal feels like when you click on the button, and that would feel a lot different. I think it it would resist a lot differently than that spring.
Yeah, you might be right. Hmm. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna experiment with that, right? So that's an experiment that I got in the works, you know. When I was thinking about it, I thought too, you know, it'd be cool is if I could get one of these with two knobs, then I could do a two knob pedal like the Vulcan or the Fuzz Face or the Tone Bender. But it's really hard to find a Boss pedal with two knobs, and they're expensive. Like they make like a noise suppressor. There's like a PH2 or PH1, like the phase shifter has two knobs. There's I think there's an early chorus like the, I don't know, like the CE1 or something has like two knobs on it. There's a couple, right? And then there's a Spectrum, right, which has two knobs, but they're all of those are worth like a bundle because they don't make them anymore. So,
Yeah, they can't really make holes go away either. I mean, you could put like a sticker over it or something, but it's not the same.
yeah, yeah, I guess you could just leave a hole in it, you know, or I don't know. So anyway, so maybe I'll put that on the back burner because I'm not going to pay $100 for another pedal just to use the enclosure, you know. It's
Right.
45 bucks and I'm like, okay. And if I could get it cheaper, like I felt that guy with the broken pedal, he should have sold me the pedal for 25 bucks, you know, and
I
six
agree.
dollars
You should have.
shipping.
It
Right.
would, you'd be contributing to, you know, the sonic excellence that we're trying to achieve on this channel.
Contributing to sonic excellence. Yeah, there you go. That's that. Maybe that's our tagline. That's our tagline next week.
Yeah, for now.
Okay, sorry, I got us a little bit derailed there, but I thought it was an interesting topic, like the cost of the Boss pedal, and where I think like practical thing that any viewer could take away is the concept that you know, take a look at Sweetwater before you buy a used pedal, because there was a lot of these going for more than 53 bucks, like 110. Like people were asking crazy prices when you could just get the new one for 53 bucks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it is kind of rough to be, like a, a starving artist or, a musician with an inventory of things, and you want to get as much money out of your gear as you can when you sell it. But I think people need to be realistic about what they're sitting on. What's the actual value of this mass produced pedal or guitar or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and then too, like I said, like I mean, I was kind of tongue in cheek, but I was kind of serious too. Like if you move your product, it's kind of good. You're doing business, so
yeah,
your cash is liquid. You're taking in less money, but you're making shelf space, and you've got some liquid cash that you can spend on something or invest. You know, right?
right.
So
Yeah, you're stimulating the economy.
yeah, right. You know, you're moving stuff. You know, I mean, of course, like it's really helping Reverb a lot. But maybe Reverb could bring their prices down if they move more product. You know, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, they have a pretty hefty fee that they take in for selling stuff,
They do.
and I
I
think that under Etsy, it's probably higher than it was.
maybe I forget. I didn't really research that, but I sold a pedal for like I asked 140 bucks, and then the guy offered at like 135, and then there was tax, and then there was like I included like $6 shipping. So I think he asked like 134, like he wanted to pay 140 with shipping, right? And so I was like, okay, sure, no big deal, right? You know. But then like when I got the money from Reverb, I made like 119. So they took like 20 bucks, but I think that also is taxes. So like I have to pay tax on the sale,
Hmm.
you know, and then Reverb took like 10 bucks and taxes were like 10 bucks or something, right?
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
Yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, like I could have said no and then I just have nothing, right? I'd still have a
Yeah,
pedal,
you'd have your pedal.
yeah, right. You know, like so I think it was okay. And then now that I have the 120 bucks, I'm like, oh, I could buy a couple of these and experiment, you know, like
Yeah, or you could buy a working pedal or something. I mean, that is a working pedal, but
yeah.
you're gonna make it into a Well, you're gonna make it into a different working pedal, but
Maybe it's gonna be a
yeah.
non-working pedal when I'm done with it, right?
Well, I'm curious if you could take the guts of that one and just put it into a normal box, like a regular aluminum box, and use a different type of switch. Um,
You might be able to. I don't know. Maybe not though. It seems like it's a little like the footprint here is a little bigger. This is like a. I was using this to experiment on fuzz faces, but like it's like a little too. It's a little bigger, like a little wider, and the circuit board in here just goes. It just fits the interior.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
I know. I
also,
took apart my my auto wah yeah last week, and it was edge to edge circuit board.
yeah, yeah. But I think I can easily fit the Big Muff in one of these. So I was gonna do a Big Muff, and then I thought like if that works out, I'm gonna try and do a Klon because I think that would be kind of fun, you know.
Mhm.
The bummer is the paint, right? So like I actually kind of like to really do this right, it would be cool if you could repaint the whole thing, but that's such a hassle and there's like I don't know, just fumes and I don't know. I think I might not do that. It might just look like this when I'm done, you know.
Yeah, or you could do some kind of a badge, or use the label maker or something like that. I'll lend you my label maker.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Just put the label maker on there. It's a good aesthetic, you
Oh
know.
yeah, I put it on a couple of my pedals, and so I could remember what the buttons do, or what the knobs do, and I like the way it looks. Here, I'll grab one real quick.
Yeah, let's check it out.
All right, I did two. So this is the I should have put what it is, what pedal it is. But do you remember the one that we made with the switchable diodes?
Oh, the Electra.
The Electra, yeah, that's what this is. And it's these are guitar knobs, because the knobs that I bought didn't fit um, on these pots. But
I like those
um,
knobs. Are they brass?
yeah,
Those are cool. I like
yeah,
those.
um, yeah. When I get some proper pedal knobs, I'll give you these ones. But then this is my tube screamer.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I like the way it looks.
Yeah, that looks great. I like that. I've seen other people do the label maker and it looks cool, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very industrial. It's very like
Yeah,
no nonsense.
yeah. Okay. Hey, should we move on? So should we move on to the movie?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think this might be a new segment, or at least for now. We we're planning to talk about a movie of the week, and today we're going to talk about the movie Flash Gordon from 1980,
Yeah. With the Queen soundtrack.
produced by Dino De Laurentiis.
Nice.
Um, how did we end up starting to talk about this?
I don't know. I think you brought up some other movie and then we kind of moved into the Queen movie, you know, and then we were like, hey, we should watch that, you know, and then I watched it, I listened to the soundtrack, and then I read the first comic, like the original Flash Gordon comic. Like I found it online. I just read the first issue for fun, just to get a feel for it, you know?
Right on. Got in the whole mood of Flash Gordon.
Yeah, yeah. What did you think about the movie?
Oh, I think it's an incredible movie. I watch it like um once every couple of years at least. Um I mean, even if you just put it on in the background and maybe listen to music, or you could listen to the Queen soundtrack and 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 watch it without the dialogue, or listen to whatever you want. But it's such a great looking movie. But the sound, like the use of synthesizers is excellent, and the songs really do, like they they service that arc of the action really well. Um, like the kind of like the battle theme when they're piloting the Ajax rocket towards the city. That's
Mhm.
a great song for like an action sequence.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's got a good guitar part, you know. I like that guitar riff, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Right?
very
Yeah.
rockin' soundtrack.
Yeah, they kind of I read somewhere they made some claim where it was kind of like, you know, it was Queen's like first soundtrack, but they also said it was like a really early like first or second soundtrack by, some rock band, doing movie soundtracks, right, you know. But I actually don't think that that's true because like Pink Floyd did the soundtrack to More in like 1969 or 70 or something. So they did it a lot earlier, and then I think Tommy came out like by the Who before that. I think there's more rock bands were doing soundtracks, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you could say that Tommy is a rock opera, so it's not really the soundtrack, you
Well,
know.
maybe, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, maybe I'm using the soundtrack term a little too loosely there.
well, I think it is kind of a matter of semantics at some point because if you do make a musical, the soundtrack is the score is you know it's
Yeah.
the spaghetti, it's the
Yep. It's definitely not a musical.
yeah,
I listened to I watched the movie. And the movie is it's a little hokey, but it's kind of fun too. Like, for me, like the best part was what were the costumes. Like, I think the
yeah.
costume design was really good. I said I read the comic, and what's funny is like after reading the comic, the art in the comic, like really, they actually brought it to life in the movie. So the costumes were like really close to the drawings in the comic, right? And the characters, like even like Voltan, the Hawkman,
Hmm.
the Hawkman King, right? He looks like the actor that they got, and his look and his like accoutrements and costume were just like the comic.
Oh, I gotta read the comic. As
Yeah,
a big fan of the movie, yeah, I definitely have to see that.
yeah, yeah. The city, right? The Hawkman city and the Mongo, right, city was like very similar to the comic, like almost exactly the same. The rocket too, right? I think
Cool,
my
yeah,
favorite character though is Clytus.
yeah, I like Clytus.
Yeah, Clytus is the best. I was thinking like, I would ask Clytus to join my band, you know? I think I'd have Aura in my band too, but I'm a little worried like she'd be moonlighting with everybody else's band, you
She
know?
can't be trusted.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, right. So yeah, Clytus could totally be in the band. I think, Voltan I'd let him play drums, you know? He had a very like Keith Moon, John Bonham look to him,
Hmm.
Ginger Baker, like the he's like the Ginger Baker of Mongo or Cloud City or whatever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, he's a wild man. Yeah, the actor's name is Brian Blessed, and
I don't know him.
yeah, it's like how many guys can open their mouth that wide, like when he's ha 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 ha, you know.
Yeah, yeah, funny. Yeah, it was pretty good. I overall I thought the movie was pretty fun, you know, uh like what else did I like about it? I liked I forget the name of the character, but it was like Clytus, like his number two. It was a woman. She was kind of in the secret police with the black
Hmm.
robes, and then they put the scientist on what's his name? Volkar.
Zarkov, Hans
Zarkov.
Zarkov, yeah.
Yeah, they put Zarkov on the table and they're like erase his memory and program him to level 3 or something. And then Clytus leaves the room and she's like, program him to level 6. Just like, I don't know why, but it was just funny.
I think maybe they did that to like just show that everyone on Mongo who works for Ming is totally untrustworthy, and they're all like stabbing each other in the back.
Yeah, yeah, right. I like those guys with kind of the pig snout outfit. I don't know what they were. When I read the comic, I swear I've seen those guys in a drawing somewhere, but in the comic that I read, the story wasn't exactly the same story that we saw in the movie. But I
Mm,
have this
okay.
feeling like that Like that story exists somewhere in the comics, but the one I read wasn't. That story was a different story, you know?
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that seems like kind of an origin story, sort of like,
yeah,
Flash's first contact with the Mongo people.
yeah. He's Flash Gordon. He plays for the New York Jets.
Yeah.
That kind of cracked
Yeah.
me.
It's interesting that, like the visual aesthetic is so faithful to, the original, what was it, like 1920s or something when they put that out.
Yeah, I don't know what
It's
the
it
date
goes
was. Like,
way
I'm
back.
not a comic expert. I just Googled it. You know, I was just like, I want to read the first episode of the comic, and I found one. You know, or at least I think it was the first episode. The internet told me it was, so I just read it. You know, and it was kind of entertaining. Yeah, and it looked like the visuals looked very similar, like the characters and drawings, like that, the costumes. And then there was the different worlds. Like it was exactly the same. Like they got a lot of it from the comic. You know.
Yeah, it's such a great aesthetic, and I think that the sound is, it's obviously it has this kind of like 70s aesthetic to the sound because it was that the technology of the day, but it's sort of has this throwback like 50s, 40s, 50s kind of electronic weird weirdness, um,
Yeah. Yeah,
quality to it.
the soundtrack is good. I listened to the soundtrack the next day, and I was just working and I put the soundtrack on, and it was actually kind of a good background music, you know? And there's little clips of the movie like in the soundtrack album.
Hmm.
So you hear the voices, like in the background,
Yeah.
right? It was
Hero's hit. I'm going in after him.
yeah, 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 it's just like that. Yeah. So it was pretty good actually, I actually liked listening to the album better than the soundtrack on the movie because like you get so little of the soundtrack. It's really short, like the little snippets that you get. But when you listen to the whole thing together, the songs are kind of strung out. They're a lot longer and it's kind of more fun.
Right. Yeah,
I
there's
like,
that one, the one, the execution of Flash.
oh
That's
yeah.
a really cool song.
Oh yeah, that one's
Um,
great. Yeah. I like that whole thing. It's a little grim, that it's actually very similar to like real executions, with like poison gas, and
yeah,
it was like surprisingly accurate to life, you
yeah.
know.
Little dose of real life in your fantasy.
Yeah, yeah. But the music there is really good on that part.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the beginning too, where there's a little clip of Ming and he's like, Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything have you brought for me today? And he's like, and actually the delivery of that line is really good by Clytus. He's like, it's an obscure body in the SK system. The inhabitants call it Earth. And he just says it with this kind of like disdain, he's got
Hmm.
a really good voice. And people have sampled that. Like the orb has that like in
The
it,
orb. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
It works really good. It worked for the orb, so that's like a really cool sample.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have
The
that in
orb
the
was a
in the album too, the Queen album. It's at the beginning,
right.
you know. I
Yeah, and that
Oh, go on, yeah, after you.
that crazy synthesizer sound that comes right after that, where it's, I guess it's the effect they use to, attack the earth. It's that wow.
Oh
I,
yeah, yeah.
can't do it justice, but um
I thought that was pretty good.
that's this also, that's the sound at the end of the movie when they show Ming's ring lying on the ground,
Oh, and the hand
like
reaches in
he
and
could
takes
still
it.
be alive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I bet
That's
I
a
bet
spoiler, so if you,
oh, I bet that I bet that I wouldn't be surprised if that was a frame from the comic because that had a very comic book feel to it.
right.
Cliffhanger
Yeah.
ending. Actually, on your sound effects there, I'm going to point out that Make Guitar, we do our own sound effects in our quest for sonic excellence.
That's right. We don't use libraries of sound effects. We just make them with our mouths.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, speaking of the opening scene too, right after he's like, you know, um, right after he says that line, he says something like, "Oh, should we destroy it?" And Ming is like, "No, let's play with it for a while, play with them for a while." And then they show this control panel and it's got this row of buttons and it's like storms, earthquake, you know,
Hot hail.
tsunami, you know, like,
Yeah.
and then there's one that's like hail, and then there's one hot hail, you know. So they just have a button for every natural disaster, you know, and like Ming is just pressing the buttons, which is really kind of funny. I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the comic too, you know.
You should make a hot hail
Oh,
effect.
yeah, dude, we should do a whole series of yeah, maybe
The
hot.
natural disaster series.
Yes, yeah. Nice, yeah. But yeah, it was pretty good. I thought the soundtrack was good, you know. Though I like the soundtrack by itself better than the soundtrack with the movie, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said earlier, like if you put the movie on in the background, you could play the soundtrack of the movie and really, you know, really get into that soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, like when they go to the when they're presenting to Ming, you know, the prisoners, you know, at the beginning, and then
Hmm.
all the different races are there, you know, paying tribute to Ming, and then Flash kind of has the football battle with them, you know, right? The football battle is like a
Hmm.
little goofy, you know. I wouldn't actually be
Yeah.
surprised if that was in the comic though, you know, but you know, it's a little goofy, and the soundtrack for that section is really cool, but you like the goofy like football battle kind of like detracts from the music, you know, to me, for me anyway, right? Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I of course I enjoy all of that stuff and even the goofiness of it, but
yeah,
you know, objectively I can agree that it is very goofy.
yeah.
Like
I
the
like
Brian
the
Bless like bonking that the one guy, the
yeah,
guard in the head.
yeah. Every time he stands up, bonk, you know. Yeah, Voltan, yeah. I like that scene though, because I like where the guy gets up there and he's like, you know, he's like, what is your tribute? And he's like, oh, well, since you've taxed us so hard, like we don't have a tribute. So all I can tribute is my, you know, is my loyalty, you know. And then Ming is like, okay, throw yourself on your sword. You know, like, whoa.
Yeah, show us this loyalty.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that was pretty evil, which is great. You know, it's total Ming, you know, like, you know. So that was like that part I really dug. It was like a great scene, you know, super,
Hmm.
super fun, you know. I like the way all the aliens, they all have a different color blood. Like that guy had like a blue blood and the Arborians have like green blood, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. The thing that always creeped me out, um, speaking of the blood, was the the ritual with the tree stump with that like that monster that lives in the stump.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think that's the first time you see the Arborean's blood, right? Because the
Yeah.
kid who's doing the ritual, he gets stung by the stump monster.
Yeah, yeah, he dies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sadly.
the poison makes you go mad, so you're just
Hmm.
begging for a merciful death, you know. It's kind of heavy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of death in that movie, and it's done in a very cartoony way. But
Yeah, yeah, they shoot down a lot of the Hawkmen, you know.
yeah,
Those guys just get shot down left and right. Actually, I guess Ming gets like impaled. Oops, wait, was that a spirit?
well, I mean, the movie's from 1980. If you haven't seen it, turn off this video and go watch it.
Yeah,
And
come
if
back. Yeah.
yeah, come back.
We should have said that at the beginning. Shit,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I was 15 when I saw that because I saw it when it came out. You know, so it was pretty good when I was 15. You know, I'd
Yeah.
seen Star Wars a couple years earlier. You know.
Yeah. So I guess I was like 12 or something like that. Um, I could figure it out. I could do the math. But yeah, after Star Wars came out, I saw every science fiction thing, you know, without fail. Um, and I don't think we're going to talk about many of those movies, so I can just say it. Like Battlestar Galactica came out shortly after that.
Oh, did they do a
Buck
movie?
Rogers.
Was there a
Yeah, there
movie?
was a movie. It was a movie, and then they just kind of launched right into, or they maybe had the show, and then they had the movie, or something like that. It was like Buck Rogers. They had a, maybe I'm getting those two confused, but the Buck Rogers in the 25th century was a movie, and then it just kind of like turned into a show.
Yeah, I remember watching the TV show. I saw the TV show. They redid that Battlestar Galactica like in the 2000s, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
It
it
was
was pretty
actually
good.
pretty good. It was like the quality was pretty good, you know.
Yeah,
I like they did some pretty cool stuff with the Cylons, you know.
yeah. I mean, I always like the old Chrome, like the
Yeah,
toasters. It kind of bums me out when they just like, like in science fiction when they're like, oh, they're aliens or robots, but they look just like humans, so you can't tell the difference. And it's sort of like, oh, we don't have a budget for costumes or animatronics or whatever, so we'll just use humans. Or it's like they travel through time and they appear in like whatever time it is right now on Earth.
how
It's
convenient.
like, yeah, it just seems like a cheap way to make a science fiction movie.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I like movies like Flash Gordon. It's like completely alien everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought the sets were pretty good too. They were a little like, you know, low budget, you know, but I think like for the time it was pretty good. Like nowadays, like, you know, just the quality of what you're getting on TV and movies nowadays is like, you know, it's up like three notches from where it was, you know, back
Right.
in 1980, right? So
Right.
I
It's a
thought
lot like Doctor Who
oh yeah.
was back in the. I think Doctor Who came out in the 50s, right? Um, I started watching it, when I was a kid, and that was in. I guess that was the 70s when Tom Baker, the guy with the curly hair and the big long scarf, when he was the Doctor. But we're going to talk more about that in another episode about Doctor Who.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll have a Doctor Who episode for sure.
Yeah,
And then we can talk about ring modulators.
that's right. Yeah.
So we'll do that. Hey, so let me ask you this. So what are you listening to? Any
Well,
music?
I've been on kind of like a little goth kick. I learned about a bunch of new stuff from one of my coworkers. He's a young guy. He likes a lot of like kind of doom metal and stuff like that. But he introduced me to a couple of um, well, these are some. This is a Turkish band called Floho.
Oh,
Um, I think we've already talked about uh,
Alton.
Molchat Dolma, right? That Russian goth kind of like 80s goth band.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
there's a whole thread to follow there. Like Demiser. Actually, Demiser I think might be more of a metal thing, but She Passed Away um, is I think another Turkish 80s goth band from um, today. They're not actually from the 80s.
Huh, I'll
And
have
then
to
there's
look
a
that
band called London After Midnight. So there's like some Eastern European and some Turkish kind of like 80s goth, um, sort of like Depeche Mode kind of stuff. It's really cool that there's a whole revival of this. Today I was listening to The Horrors, which is a great band from kind of 2010 and beyond that had like I think 5 albums altogether. Um, a British band
I'll
that's
have to
kind of
go check them
gothy.
out.
Yeah, check out The Horrors.
For some reason the name rings a bell, but I can't remember, but I think I've heard the name before. Maybe we might have talked about it.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, they definitely made a splash. They're, kind of like they have the kind of spooky, um, gothy synths and a lot of guitar. If you listen to any of these other bands like London After Midnight, Ploho, you will definitely hear some Cure and New Order sounding
Huh,
guitar. A lot of chorus
interesting. Yeah,
or
maybe I
phaser.
saw an interview with them or something. I'm thinking now.
The Horrors or
Yeah, the horrors.
okay,
You could do it. I'd do a band called the Hors d'oeuvres.
or
You know.
that's a good name,
Yeah.
especially for an opening band.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it would be fitting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna send you a link here. So I saw this video the other day because you were talking about the cure. So I ran into some people, they had done these videos on, apparently they'd recreated Robert Smith's pedal board in
Oh,
like
cool.
exacting detail. Like they'd got all the same Boss pedals. They put tape on them and marked the settings for each pedal, and wired it up the same way. And, I guess he had used like a Boss pedal case to hold the pedals. So they'd got Boss pedal cases. They built the thing exactly like his pedal board in like the 80s or something.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. They kind of walked through it. It's a little bit nerdy, but you might think it was kind of fun.
I mean, I like stuff like that. I think, Robert Smith has kind of an iconic setup, his guitar, the jazz master with the middle pickup put in there, and that the what's it called, the buzz stopper. um like, it's a pretty iconic thing, and he did it to all of his jazz masters. They're all set up the same way. And then of course his sound comes from his particular way of playing and those pedals. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, he got a lot of mileage out of the Boss pedals. I mean, the Boss pedals are pretty solid, but he pretty much just used the Boss pedals. Like he might be using something
Hmm.
else, but like he like had a solid collection of these, right? They in the video they
you know
kind of go over a pedal board for, I think it was just used on one particular song, I think The Forest, right? And what I
okay.
thought was interesting is, if I recall, he had a delay, and then the delay went into two flangers, right? So it was like, like normally you put the flanger first or after, but you wouldn't have, one flanger into another flanger and have the delay first. Like that's pretty strange. So it's
Right.
kind of an interesting approach. I'm sure he did it like, because it was early on, so it wasn't like he had the internet to rely on, or, people giving him advice. I'm sure he just plugged the stuff together and he was like, oh, that sounds good.
Right. Yeah, well, I can't remember what album that was, but yeah, I mean, he has said like this this album was a direct result of taking too much acid. And it might have been that one. It was definitely like the pornography album. That was the one he said that about.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that he played the
But
bass six too,
yeah,
right?
yeah, the bass six is a pretty cool, pretty mighty beast.
Oh yeah, bass six was pretty fun. Actually, what was another interesting thing is it seemed like he had three pedal boards, right? And two of them, one was for the bass six, one was for the regular guitar, and then one was for the Forest, right? So, that, I mean, I guess it's early on. He didn't have like a fancy switching system, right? But on the first two pedal boards, he had the signal went in, and one of the first pedals was the GE7, I guess. It's like the EQ, like the Boss EQ, right? With the 7-band EQ, right?
Hmm.
And apparently, like they showed it and they were saying like he just has it set flat and then the boost up just like a little bit. So he was
Hmm.
just using that as a booster.
No, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that'd be like if I used my reverb as a booster, which I could do, because it has a like an attenuator on it, but it's kind of a strange choice. Just
I don't know. It kind of makes sense to me. Like, I mean, like if maybe back then it was hard to come by like a good booster,
right.
like a clean boost, right? So, putting the graphic EQ in front did the same
Right.
thing, and he was probably got these pedals, right? So he's like, oh, these are solid, they're reliable, they work,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know.
I think those are kind of like the hallmarks of Boss pedals. They're solid, they're reliable, and they work, but they're all kind of like a single function thing. Like a lot of the boutique pedals that we talk about nowadays, they're a delay, but they're also, they've also got like an octaver or something. They've got some, weird functions built into them. Um, a lot of these, well, I've got a list of crazy pedals that we'll have to talk about at some point. But
Yeah, there's a lot of pedals nowadays that are like multifunction, and they'll have like a DSP inside, like,
mhm,
like that True Spring Reverb has like a tremolo built in, right? So it's like tremolo and reverb, which is cool. And then there's a bunch of pedals that are like kind of like crazy weirdo delay where the delay is like has like some like a octave effect or some like pitch shifting on the delays, but you can do
Mm.
that in DSP, but it's kind of like they're taking multiple effects and combining them together to make like a new sound, and I think that's cool. But in the old days, I guess you just, you made those sounds by combining the single function units together.
Yeah, I mean, I love the sound of these pedals, like this Doctor Scientist, like the Doctor Scientist atmosphere, and the BitQuest. But I think personally, I think I would prefer to have those be separate things, and that like I kind of feel like when you use a preset, when you use somebody else's sauce, you're not really cooking from scratch anymore.
Yeah, 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 I don't know, yeah, I mean, like, I think like those multi effect, like DSP kind of, pedals that have these crazy effects, they're kind of cool, but they're also like, they're giving you more, but they're putting it in a more narrow track. So, you're going to have this sound that's delay and pitch shifting or whatever, and reverb maybe or something, right? Like all combined, but then it's always going to sound like delay, pitch shift, and reverb. Like you can't make it sound different. Where if
Mm,
you had like a delay, a pitch shift, and a reverb, like as separate pedals, maybe you could do a little more with it, or it could sound different.
right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think like the whole experience of using things like the guitar, the Roland GP8, which is 8 different effects built into a rack mount thing, um, or the Boss GT3, I think it is. It's like it has like 16 different effects built into it, and you use like a little spinning wheel to manually or to scroll through like a little tiny LCD screen. That kind of stuff has kind of turned me off to like multi effects units. I mean, these like digital delay, reverb, and octave pedal things that we're talking about are a far cry from that, but um,
Yeah. I mean, in,
it's
in the
a
end, I think
similar
they're,
idea.
oh, yeah, yeah, I think in the end, they're all different. They are different things. They're totally different animals,
Mhm.
different species, right? And then it maybe depends on how you like to work. I kind of prefer it if, like no menus and I can just reach for the controls, and I
Yeah,
got a button to get this particular effect, and then of course, like maybe I have to rewire my pedal board or take a pedal out and put a new one in or something to get the sound.
right. Yeah. Well, someday you'll have a guy down, below the stage who will just put those. He'll have a big pedal board and he'll just like swap out the ones that you
Oh,
need
funny.
for the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
song.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that day. I'm not holding my breath, but we're looking forward to that day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay, so should we call it? You got any
Um.
final words for this episode?
Um. No, I just want to say that for the next episode, we're probably going to continue with the movies thing. I think we might touch on another. Um. Uh. We might touch on another Dino De Laurentiis title. Um, but yeah, if you have any thoughts about movies that um, are sonically interesting to you, and you would like to, throw your hat in the ring or whatever the phrase is. If you have any movies that you want to just discuss, throw them in the comments, um, and we are anxious to see what you have to say.
I actually have something I want to say about that too, but I'm going to put it in the comments.
Oh, you are okay. Good. Um,
I have a total reply to this. Right? Okay, cool. Well, let's call it a day. Thanks for watching.
See you in the next one.